Hey, this is Jennifer at the Sheepwalk Ranch and Fiber Mill. Suzu's Wool Works at the Sheepwalk Ranch. I am bringing you episode 2 of the Texas Fiber Gathering. So for those of you who have snow, I'm actually a little jealous. You have a reason to sit down and be creative. And then there's the rest of us who are sitting here wondering why we have long sleeve shirts on. In December, in Texas, this is not normal. So we're all waiting for that other shoe to drop, Snowmageddon, spring 2025. In the meantime, our sheep are confused, I'm confused, our plants are confused. But the subject today is really about the confusion within our arts community. I work with an artist who was told by her gallery, you need to source your wool from the state that you live in. So we won't name that because the artist is, she's special to me. But the reality check was she couldn't find a fiber mill and she couldn't find a farmer. I mean, what does an artist do, when you're looking for wool besides put out, an SOS on social media and just ask around as best as you can. And finally she found someone who had wool for her. But the wool itself, I had to ask her, as we're sitting there opening up container after container, what is it? What is this wool? And it turns out it's a Dorper cross. So the thing about the Dorper is a meat sheep, primarily. But it is also 50% Dorset horn. That was its original genetics. So when we talk about this whole worldwide view of sheep, you need to understand that almost every sheep we have is a cross of something. Sometimes it was just done naturally and sometimes it was man-made. In this case, it was man-made to create a better meat sheep that would also be prolific in producing milk and producing babies. And the wool would just be a byproduct. But the wool would also contain hair. So the thing about hair is as soon as I started learning many years ago, you hear, ew, contamination, and I'm thinking, oh, I don't get it. So when I had my first 3 sheep, they were Dorpers, and they all had a wool coat on their back that I could take off of them in the springtime. And I wanted to do something with it, but everyone I talked to told me I was crazy. And they probably are right. Just straight Dorper, great to the felting, but a lot of times they're so lanolin rich where that wool attaches to them that it's already pre-felted by the time you get that off of them. With a Dorper cross, though, what happens is depending on who you cross them with or which breed you cross them with, that wool genetic does get pulled out. So I actually had initially, just because my first 2 rams didn't work out, I had a Leicester long wool ram, and I thought, oh, what the heck, I'm gonna put him in there. And he did get my Dorper girls pregnant. Well, what shocked me was I had one that turned out like a churro, another one that looked like a polypay, and the others were just sort of this in-between, not really hair, there's no hair in the wool, but not significantly beautiful, but great for weaving yarns, rug stuff, felting, things like that. So I didn't consider them to be trash or trash wool. And so that's a big subject, is trash wool versus, the primo stuff. But to me, I mean, if you're making rugs, having that little bit of hair in there can be character. And it doesn't need to be something you have to be scared of. So like when I went through her fleeces, this one actually, I just pulled out of storage because it's getting ready to go to the wash station. It really doesn't look like it has a lot of hair in it, but if you get real close in there, you can start to see little bits and pieces of hair coming through. And I wish I'd worn a black shirt so you could see more maybe against my hair. So there is hair in it. And where you're gonna see it more is gonna be, here I made a mess, is going to be in a wet feld process. You can see the hairs. This is actually has some Jacob in it, and even Jacob has a little bit of a hair in their undercoat, and it's not a bad thing. It actually helps the fibers really bind. What it doesn't do is it doesn't make your yarn soft. So when you think about those wires, think about dog hair, when it wraps around that undercoat or that woolly down, it's gonna make more like a rope sensation than it is. It's gonna be a soft next to skin wearable. So I don't turn away Dorper cross because I do have a passion and a curiosity for all wool. But I'm looking at this yarn, and I'm gonna actually see if I can't get it held up closer to the camera here. I don't know if you can see that halo We call this schnauzer wool, beloved schnauzer wool. I don't have a problem with it. I know a lot of places that would turn it away. It's cleanup. There's a lot of cleanup afterwards, but this actually is going to create something beautiful. So this rug yarn, I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that story is told. When we go through those fleeces though, a lot of times we'll have to skirt them. And so one of the things I think about is, okay, if this is considered a waste wool or, you know, crap, you're gonna need to have something to do with it because there's no waste. And so you've got some options. You've got your wool pellets, which is great for small scale gardening. So just remember, a little bit does not go a long way. You're gonna need probably bags and bags and bags of this in order to be running it in your large scale garden. So if you have a huge kitchen garden, I recommend that you take your wool and direct compost. If you're thinking about outdoor stuff, or you think about how you can make this work, this with some seeds inside, this is fantastic cover. So you can actually wrap this around your trees. You can wrap it around your pipes for insulation. You can fill it up with seeds and you can put it in the ground, and that will be your spring cover right there. The wool will naturally biodegrade. Think beyond the dryer ball. Think beyond the soap. Everybody does dryer balls. Everybody does felted soap. You know, with stuff like this, you can even make cord and do rope out of it. There's a lot of things that you can do, but don't discount the Dorper cross. I think that's my fiber gathering advice for today. We're going to be exploring composting in the new year as part of our Girl with Grit challenge. But it's also been something that we've been talking about for about a year now. What would you do with all that waste wool? Probably longer than a year. But again, if you come across a fleece and you don't know what it is, and the owner says Dorper, don't run. Don't run. Just look at that fleece differently and ask yourself, okay, staple might be a little bit shorter than usual, but what can I do with it? How can I make it useful? And then if you want to work with a mill, you just need to be upfront with them and figure out what it is and talk to them and see what they're willing to do for you, because this can actually even make a really nice single ply tapestry. So you're not limited. You really aren't. And then again, coarse spun for rug making, you just can't go wrong. So I hope you have a good rest of the week. This is my moment in the sun. I know that the temperature should drop eventually, but for those of you in the snow, please enjoy the sunlight. For those of us in the sunlight, we really wish you had your snow. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.